The Sonic the Hedgehog franchise has had a lot of games over the years, with some being great, some being good, and some being worse than others. So today, I'll be going through my top 5 best and worst Sonic games. Let's establish a couple of ground rules. Rule number 1, it is only the games I know of, so if an older game is not on this list which you would like to see, then I'm probably not familiar with that game at all. Second, this is my opinion and my opinion only, and the way I'm going to be doing is I'll be going from 5th worst to 5th best and so on. Now, let's begin. And keep in mind that if I'll be going quick in some of these entries, please take it lightly because I might want to talk about these entries again in future videos and I don't want to repeat myself then. So let's begin for real this time. Personally, for me, Forces was a huge disappointment because in 2017 there was so much hype built up for the game, especially in the trailers because the trailers looked so amazing, but what we got is a game where there's only 3 playable characters with a gimmick seen already used in Generations, with being boost gameplay and 2D gameplay. The only unique thing which was brought into this game was actually 2 things, is that Eggman actually managed to conquer the world for once, and that you had your own avatar with their own gimmick depending on which weapon you choose. In general, this game was a huge disappointment for me and I don't have much I can add to this entry.
But I guess it's time we got moving. I know you all have big plans.
You're gonna hardly recognize me when we see each other again.
While most people find that Sonic in Lost World is a ripoff of Super Mario Galaxy, I kinda like it that way, to be honest. Like, giving Sonic games a sort of Mario flair to it, even if they're meant to be fast-paced, doesn't really hurt, and I think that Lost World is an incredibly decent game. It introduced original villains, which in my opinion are likable with their personalities. Some people may not like them. The villains are very hit or miss in this game, and it has some enjoyable and unique boss fights and level design. Like, if you just want to have a good time with a Sonic game, Lost World is one of the games that I would definitely recommend. Now, moving on. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of the Game Gear games. In fact, I pretty much hate all of them except for Triple Trouble. So you can expect that I would say all the games except for Triple Trouble. But if there's one game I hate the most, it's definitely Labyrinth. Because the point of the game is that Sonic lost his shoes to Dr. Robotnik, and Robotnik replaced them with shoes that make Sonic go slow. So this entire experience is slow paced and like puzzle based levels. Now I for one do not like puzzle games, in fact I hate them, and whenever there's a puzzle in a game, I tend to solve it by myself, and if it doesn't work I'll just Google it. So having a Sonic game which is supposed to be fast being slow and focus more on puzzles than running is just a very bad game in my opinion, and goes against everything the series normally does.
But I guess it's time we got moving. I know you all have big plans.
You're gonna hardly recognize me when we see each other again.
Some people might think it's lazy to just take levels which already exist and remaster them, but I actually think that's a pretty good idea, and that's where Sonic Generations comes in. This game is incredibly enjoyable because you not only play as one but 2 Sonics. Modern Sonic, which is the Sonic we know to this day, and Classic Sonic, a Sonic you're familiar with from the Classic Trilogy and the Classic era of games. They both have their own unique gameplay style and their own gimmicks, with Sonic blasting through levels with the boost, and Classic Sonic using traditional platformer 2D gameplay. And the game has some very surprisingly good level design. Well, of course it's good because it's from past Sonic games. Like for instance, you can go through Chemical Plant and Sky Sanctuary from the Classic Trilogy, but you can also go through that one highway zone from Adventure 2 or even some 06 stages which were made great. And the story is also pretty good, even if it involves going through past levels and exploring more of Sonic's past. My general opinion is that this game is very enjoyable and has very tons of the references and nods to previous games, both for old players who are very familiar with the franchise, but also for new players. To start off the worst top 3, here's a game you might have expected to be in first place. I'm of course talking about Sonic 06. Now, this game has a few redeeming qualities for me, some which are not found in the next two. Now, the story is surprisingly good, and it has a epic final boss fight, even with or no glitches. It also introduces some characters which become staples, and some villains which are just excellently written. For instance, this game has the only Sonic villain to have killed Sonic. But both of those things can't make up for the horrible gameplay found in this game. Like for instance, loading screens take too long, and the gameplay is a bit buggy and has a lot of glitches. And that's why you can find this game in the worst section.
But I guess it's time we got moving. I know you all have big plans.
You're gonna hardly recognize me when we see each other again.
I just couldn't live with myself if I started the top 3 of the best games without mentioning the OG Trilogy, like the Classic Trilogy, like Sonic 1, 2, 3, and Knuckles, and I'm not counting CD. Because these games are very unique and they feel like they're all connected as one game, because they all have similar gameplay, and they all introduce new characters who become staples in the Sonic franchise. And they all have the same story of stopping Robotnik so he can't use the Chaos Emeralds and Master Emerald for his plan for world domination. And the gameplay is just very good in these games. I don't have a lot more to say about this game. Now the next two games are games I absolutely despise to my heart's core. And to start off this category, I have Shadow the Hedgehog. Now imagine playing a game that you expect to have one ending. Well, here's a twist. There are 10 endings in the game and separate paths to get to that ending. You have 3 paths. You have the normal path, the hero path, and the dark path, all with their separate 10 endings. Now, I'm not a fan of very long games, and if you want to go for 100% and unlock the true final ending, unlike 06 where you just have to play 3 times, you're gonna have to go over the game 10 times, which I absolutely hate. And for the rest, that's all I gotta say.
But I guess it's time we got moving. I know you all have big plans.
You're gonna hardly recognize me when we see each other again.
The adventure games hold a very special place in my heart for everything they introduced and the impact they had on the series as a whole. And out of the two, my favorite has to be Adventure 2, because it introduced so much more than the last one, and although I generally think that the first one had a lot more impact on the universe itself. The second one just had so much great character development in one game. For instance, when we meet Shadow, we feel like he's an evil character, but after finding out his backstory, we see him as sort of a neutral character who still works with the bad guys. But then in the final battle, I feel like Shadow has sort of transitioned into an anti-hero of some sort before fully becoming a hero in later games. And like I said, it had a huge impact on future games, with Heroes being the best example for Shadow. Now moving on to the first of the worst and the best categories. But before that, I gotta give some honorable and dishonorable mentions. For the dishonorable mentions, obviously the Game Gear games, I hate all of them except for Triple Trouble, because Triple Trouble was at least awesome enough to get a for 16-bit reboot or something, remaster, whatever you call it. And for the honorable mentions, I have to give it to Sonic Colors for introducing the Wisp and it being the best gimmick game out of every Sonic game. Sonic Rush because of the boost gameplay and being one of the best portable Sonic games, and Frontiers because I like how it is a open world game. Now let's get to the number ones. Some of you might have expected, some of you not. Now, imagine just like taking all of the serious elements from Sonic, throwing that out of the window and make every character basically a complete joke. Then you get Sonic Rise of Lyric. Now this game I absolutely despise. First of all, it's one of the Boom games, and all of those games except for Fire and Ice are hot garbage. And second, the gameplay is just so trash. The story doesn't appeal to me at all. Every character, like I mentioned, just feels like a complete and total joke. And they managed to turn Eggman, one of the most threatening villains in the entire franchise, into a total joke. Like, I'm not kidding, Eggman's not even the main villain, and I can't even take like lyrics seriously. Everything about this game just makes me, at one point this game just made me leave the entire series as a whole before coming back to the series. So my final thoughts on the game: it's just hot garbage. It's not even worth playing if you're like in a gaming channel. And gamers who have played it for their channel, like, GG's to them, because this game is just pure torture for me.
But I guess it's time we got moving. I know you all have big plans.
You're gonna hardly recognize me when we see each other again.
Now for the best number one, I might have been a bit biased, but I will stand by it all day to say that Unleashed is the best, not even the best, my favorite Sonic game, because people have different opinions on the internet. Like, Unleashed, the daytime stages carry Unleashed alone. Like, you can like put away the nighttime stages with the Hedgehog, and this game is a 10 out of 10 because this game has a certain feel of polish which the other Sonic games don't have. Like, this game is the most polished out of all the games, and I can just gush about the daytime stages for days, maybe even years, because these are the best levels we've had in Sonic games. Like, you can just boost through the entire level and I swear it's gonna feel satisfying. I'll definitely be talking about Unleashed in future videos if it's Sonic related. Just take it for now. I'll be talking about Unleashed whenever I can. And with that, we finally finished the list. Thank you all so much for watching. And if you want to see content like this more often, or even coming later to the channel, anime ranking content like arcs and fights, then please consider subscribing. It would really help me out. I hope you're having a great day, and I am Mugiwara, 09.